Alright, welcome back to the commercial snapper saga here. Cleaned up and honed the block. It's not terrible. There's no like deep gouging. There's like some staining on it. I think we're going to be just fine here. Yeah, no big gouges or nothing. Piston cleaned up. There's a little bit on the skirt, but I mean the top end isn't bad. Something danced around in there. I know a few of them might be from me, but not that many. But anyway, piston looks fine. Freed up the clutch here. It was just sticky, I guess. I've had them where you pop this cover off and it's just completely full of rust. But this one, nope. Wasn't any rust in it. It was just dirty. So that's good to go. So our block is good to go. I would put it together, but I'm waiting for that stupid seal kit, which is taking its sweet time in the mail to get here. Did get our new air filter and the little cap that goes on it. So somewhat of a Briggs parts there. And then I got an original pull handle here. There's your Briggs number if you want it, but nice beefy original looking pull handle. And you know this thing is original because it still has the stinking like dust cover in the recoil. So I'm wondering if this is like the original recoil spring that came with it, because typically these never go back and all you're left with is just even more racket when you're trying to start it. So that's the first one I think I've ever seen in the wild here. So I got to clean this up. Recoil spring looked fine. I'm just going to clean this, put some lube down in there, throw the spring in there, and get us a new pull cord, because this thing is definitely sad, and I dare say it might be the original. So that'll clean that up. We'll get this buttoned up. Still kind of stuck in the mud here because I don't have a seal kit, and it says it's delayed in the mail, or else I'd pop that front seal out, put the crank in, and start assembling the whole thing. And it'd probably take me a good afternoon to throw the whole thing together again. We have been working on the gas tank, and it looks pretty good. Now I got WD-40 in there. Be free. There you go. I got a get out there. Fine, stay in there. So the tank itself, I don't know what that yellow is. Maybe that's like the color it was. Anyway, the cup, I wish the cup was a little cleaner here, but that's just a return, so I'm not concerned about that. But gas tank cleaned up here just fine. So we put an assortment of nuts and bolts in there with some water, and we shook the dickens out of it. Then we drained it, and then I've had this thing of Evapo-Rust hanging around here, so I filled it to the top tippy top with Evaporest and let it sit for 4 hours. Drained it and then rinsed it out. Saw that it wasn't as great. Filled it back up with Evaporest and let it sit another 3 hours. And then that's the state of it right now. So I would say the tank is totally usable. So that's good. The carburetor carburetor's still gross. I do have new diaphragms on the way for it. I just have to clean it up a little bit, and you better be careful with this longer pickup because they don't make that anymore. So we will be gentle. They make this one all day long, $10, but not the big one. I'm sure I could adapt something to make it work if it did break, but anyway, we'll soak the carb here and carry on as much as I can until the gasket kit arrives, because without it you're kind of just a sitting duck here. So let me get working on the little stuff. Alright, well, I've prepped everything I can. I'm still waiting on the gaskets to show up. I need to get the recoil back in. So that is all nice and lubed and cleaned. Got our nice shiny pull handle. And everything else cleaned up pretty nice. Cleaned up the coil. Hopefully that'll work just fine. If not, we'll have to scrounge up a new one, I suppose. This is just temporary in there because I got to replace the front seal. I already popped the bottom seal out. Looked like it wasn't leaking, but since we're here, we're just going to replace all the seals. Got all the hardware cleaned. Got the carburetor gone through. Got the intake tube cleaned. Everything's cleaned and just waiting. I got the gas tank cleaned. I got the gas cap all cleaned up. So this is ready to be assembled. Yeah, so that's just a waiting game now. Waiting for the snail mail. Or Amazon. Or both. Although I think the snail mail already delivered. That's what the recoil handle was in. So I will bring you guys along once I get the seals, and we can hopefully start throwing this thing back together. Shouldn't take too long. Now that I got everything cleaned, the only thing that might take a little bit is getting the piston back down through and then putting the valves and getting those set. So I shall keep you guys updated here. Alright, well, we finally got the gasket set. There is your number. Made in China. I think we all know where that was made. So we have a side-by-side comparison of the bottom seal. So that one's the old one. We got the new one there. So it'll work. I haven't had any problems with them. I just pack the back side of it with grease so that spring doesn't want to go anywhere. Place in your hole and get it like a block of wood and just smack that thing in there until it's flush with the top. So then it's rebuilt just like that. Whole bottom end rebuilt. Look at that. With so little effort. So I'm going to take some time and install the seals, install the front seal into the case here, and then we can begin final assembly of the engine and then plug all the new seals in as I go along, and double check the valve clearances and all the bolts and all that fun stuff. So let me get to some installing here. Alright, we got the piston in, we got the crank in, timing's lined up, valve lifters are in. I'm betting the governor, I think, was straight up and down, so I might have to mess with that after it's running. So I'm gonna slap the cover back on here. Got a new fresh gasket too, and we're gonna keep plugging away here. Shouldn't take too terribly long, as long as I don't run into any snags. I think the only snag going forward is the gas tank, or no, the carburetor bolts that mount the carburetor to the gas tank. They were pretty bad, and they really want like $10 a piece for those things nowadays. So we're gonna see when we get there anyway. Let me keep buttoning it up here. Alright, so put the intake boot on, proceeded to strip out this hole because you're only holding on to like a 1/16 of a thread in this hole. So I went out to my local Lowe's and picked up some 632, or no, 832 1.5 bolt there, and had to trim it down a little bit. But worry, or be cautious right there. We got both of our valves in. Unfortunately, I had to keep using the original intake valve because I accidentally ground too much off the end of the valve when I was setting the clearance here. So, oops. I think it'll be fine for our purposes. If I put a compression tester on it and it doesn't work, then I'll get a new valve. But those valves aren't cheap, that's for sure. You are definitely going to want one of these, or a valve spring compressor, because the exhaust valve is the style with that itty bitty pin inside of it, and you're going to have a heck of a time getting it out of there. So pick one up for like 18 bucks on Amazon, and it'll save you a lot of headache. Let's see. I guess we can start putting the head on, put the coil on, start piecing everything together again here, and we'll bring you guys back. Alright, here she is, all assembled, with all my greasy fingerprints all over it. Once I install it on the deck, I'll give it a wipe down. Confirmed we did have spark, so, that's always a plus. I am still air cleaner coverless. Thinking I'll just turn one out of aluminum and put it on there. I'm not paying the amount of money people want for those, so we'll make it fun, and we'll just make one out of aluminum, and then it'll be like the shiniest thing on the mower. So you can still see a little bit of the char mark I used to take those bolts out, but surprisingly I was able to reuse the carburetor bolts. I haven't filled it with oil or gas yet, so it is the opportune time to just turn it any way you want and put it on a deck. So that's what I'm going to do. The blade, I'm not going to get a new blade yet. I'm going to see how this thing runs first before I invest $30 into a blade. The price of those should be like 15, but nope, not anymore. Those are 30. So I got the kill wire hooked up. This one goes to the bag chute, so that's got to get wired into the deck there. Yeah, we'll see what I forgot or didn't do, but timing is good. We have spark. The carburetor linkage is kind of questionable because one of the springs is like super cattywampus like that. I think that's the throttle return spring. Not sure if I got the governor set right, so we're gonna find out for sure with that. Anyway, let me go mount this on the deck here. Alright, we got it mounted. Unfortunately, I don't have enough gas to fill the tank, but I did put oil in it. I'll dribble a little bit of two-stroke down the intake, and we'll see what happens. Alright. Sorry if I was blocking the view. Well, that means all that time and effort was worth it. So at the end of I got one more video to make. We'll run it and tune it and all that, but at the end of the series I'll tally up how much this free snapper cost me. But I mean, it's one hell of a snapper. So thank you all for watching. I will definitely make that air cleaner cover here, and I'll do that maybe in a separate video. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.